Hi everyone, this is Zahant, and today I'm going to be giving you a quick walkthrough into a Oriental clubhouse style track that is heavily inspired by the artists Armen Miran and Hraach. I hope I pronounced those names correctly. So without further ado, let's get straight into the project file. If you like the way this project file sounds, feel free to head into the link into the description below. You can grab the project file for free there, so you can walk through the project with me together. I'm going to create a MIDI clip on here on the top so that I can show you how the track was arranged. So the first part sounds like this, where you can only hear kick, top loops, and the bass line. This I would consider to be the intro, where only the basic and the main parts of the track are playing, which in this case is the kick, top loops. You can hear a bit of a vocal chant that's being played in the background, and you can hear a bass line that's playing in combination with the kick. You can also see that all the tracks beside the kick are heading into a sidechain ducking channel, which in essence is creating the pumping effect. Without it, it sounds too dull. So whenever the kick plays, every other element is being reduced in volume. So this would be the intro. After the first 8 bars, we have our clap that comes in. And you can hear the ambience is slowly being faded in as well. Clap plus ambience. Let's give this a blue color. So we're slowly building tension. Then comes the build-up. You can hear that we removed the bass frequencies in order to create tension. So I added a low cut automation on the master channel over here, removing all the low frequencies below 100 Hertz. So that creates tension. There's also a filter cutoff automation on the bass line, so it basically opens up. Just going to zoom in right here. You can hear the bass line opening over time. That creates tension. We have our ambience vocal loop, which is also being opened up over time, which is another source of creating tension. So this I would consider to be the build. Let's give this a yellow color because a lot is going on here. The tension is rising. We also have another hi-hat that's coming in, so another new element every 8 bars. As you can see over here, the kick is being removed for a total of 1 bar to create that extra tension right before the drop hits. We also have our first little transition over here to move from the build-up into the drop. So let's call this pre-drop. Pre-drop. After that, the drop hits. So what basically happens is that tension is being released. We have an introduction for a new element, which is the Duduk. I think it's a Turkish flute. We also have a new hi-hat that's coming in, which sounds like this on its own. That gives the track a lot of energy. So I would consider this to be the drop. Can make it red. Oh, red, 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 red. There we go. Release in tension. And after another 8 bars of the drop, we have the same Duduk sample playing again, but at a different pitch, so we create a bit more variation. So in the first part of the drop, it sounded like this. And what we did over here is just pitch it down a bit. Pretty cool. So what I'm going to do here is call this Duduk variation. Oops. Drop 1.2 Duduk pitch variation. And you can also see here, let's show the automation, that we're taking away the bass frequencies 2 bars before the next section hits, and we're also taking away the kick for a bar. So this sounds like this. Then drop number 2 is being introduced. Drop 2. We introduce some more drums, in this case a ride, which adds a lot more energy to the second part of the drop. And as you can see here, this cymbal transition sounds also really goes well with the first part of the drop into the second part of the drop. So after another 8 bars, we add the Duduk again, but with a different pitch. So what we can do is actually just take this, drop 2.2, Duduk pitch variation. And in the second part of the drop, you can realize that again, we are removing some of the bass frequencies. In this case, we're doing it 4 bars before the next section hits. And we're also removing the kick for a total of half a bar here. So what we're doing is we're building some tension here to reintroduce the next section of the track. And we're also adding some variation. In this case, I added an Oriental voice. And then we're back to 0. Back to 0, kick plus bass. So for this part over here, what we're doing is building some tension, build tension. And in this part, we're releasing the tension by heading back to kick and bass. We added some melodic elements as well, like the chant, the vocal chant, and the Duduk sample, because without those, it would sound pretty empty. If we could blend those out, it sounds like this. The transition would be too sudden, so what we do in this case is we keep the melodic elements. Cool. So that's it for the arrangement of the track. I'm not going to go too in depth into the individual samples, but I'll give you some tips for using the right samples for your Oriental Clubhouse track. So for the kick, it's really important that you select samples that have an even volume distribution throughout the whole sample. So it basically starts off with this transient over here, and it slowly fades in volume over time. I prepared a reference kick for you that looks completely different. This sample, for instance, starts off with a small transient, takes a dip, and then increases itself in volume. I'm not against kick samples that look like this, but for this genre, it's best to have a sample that is evenly distributed and starts off with a loud transient and fades down slowly. When it comes to using loops and samples, drum samples or percussion samples, percussion loops in your track, it's important to note that the tighter the percussion sound, the better it's usually going to end up sounding. I prepared a small reference sound for you here. This sample would take too much space in the mix, so what we do is head into warp mode, beats, select this mode over here, and start messing with the length. You can hear the sample becoming much more snappier and shorter, and this really helps to create that Oriental clubhouse vibe. Another tip that I can give you is always use background textures or pad elements that go throughout the whole track, because you can see that out of all elements that are playing, this one plays throughout the whole track. It just fills out any empty space that you have in your track. Without this texture loop, the track would sound like this. With the texture, it sounds like this. It just really fills out the track in its entirety. That's basically it for this short tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this quick walkthrough. If you liked the video, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified about future videos. It would really support me. And if you like this project file, you can download it using the link in the description below. It's entirely free. Check it out for yourself. All samples, all instruments, and all racks are included as well. So enjoy.